Hello, I am Karen O'Connor of SingWise.com. So today I am going to attempt to condense about a year's worth of teaching and study into one moderately short instructional video on how to systematically develop and extend our TA dominant mix range, our chest mix range, and transition seamlessly into head mix. It's not so much that there is a lot of teaching involved, although I will probably have to make a third video on this topic because I'm sure I'm going to miss something today, and you know me, I like to explain things very thoroughly. It simply takes time to develop this coordination and to make it consistent so that we can call upon it whenever we want to use it. I will tell you this now and I will keep emphasizing it. It's a coordination that involves three parts of our voice systems: the motor, the breath, the vibrator, vocal folds, and the resonator. And it takes time to find the optimal balance between these so that they function as a unity and help us achieve the sounds that we're aiming for. Now, some teachers say that all that's needed for us to master mixed voice is to allow the voice to coordinate and not get in its way. Personally, mixed voice did not come naturally for me, and it still doesn't. I'm a light lyric mezzo-soprano, and what's most natural for me is bridging into a CT dominant middle voice coordination at my lower passaggio, which is E4. It makes for a very warm, sweet, pretty sound within my middle register, the octave between my lower and upper passaggi, that's easier on my vocal instrument and more efficient without being completely light and wimpy. But it's not the kind of sound that we hear on the radio, so I know from personal experience how long it can take to learn new ways of using our voices, to get used to how that sounds and feels, and to make that coordination consistent. I got a late start in learning this coordination, and I'm still not perfect at it. If you listen to different teachers demonstrating mixed voice, it won't sound the same from teacher to teacher. I tend to find that males are more likely to stretch their chest mix up higher and get louder, while female teachers are more likely to stay at a moderate loudness and transition into a head mix earlier, around A4, B flat 4, B4. Which one is right? Well, they're all right because mixed voice occurs on a continuum. It doesn't sound the same from person to person or song to song or vocal phrase to vocal phrase or even from note to note. Mixed voice is not just a loud sound. It can be, but it can also be a lighter sound, even when we're singing in a TA dominance, and that's why it's so confusing. But as soon as we accept that there's no single magic formula or no specific winning target that we have to hit in order to stay in the competition, we'll find a mixed voice coordination. All right, so let's dig into this topic. The first element that we need to get right in order to build a healthy mixed voice is twang. I've already recorded a few videos on twang, but just to recap, twang is that really bright quality that we hear in wah, 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 and la, 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 la. We can achieve it by imitating a baby's cry, wah, wah. Now, twang is going to keep our vowels bright and speech-like and raise our first formant, which further contributes to the perception that we are still in chest voice even when we've moved into a head mix. It also contributes to the perception that we have only one vocal register. Also, it's going to keep our vocal folds together for a strong vibration source signal, which not only increases the power of our sound, but also helps us maintain a more consistent glottal compression as we start to let the vocal folds thin, so that we can match degrees of closed quotient between the registers. And hopefully it will keep us from using excessive muscular effort and overly high breath pressure levels to keep the voice connected. It's a very healthy, efficient, and protective means of using the voice. So with twang as a foundation, we're going to start building our mixed voice range. Now I'm going to assume that you already know how to create twang properly, especially without throat constriction, excessive glottal compression, or nasality. If not, check out part 1 and part 1.5 of my twang series. This is really important to get right. Now let's start with an exercise that we did in part 1 of my twang series. Now we're going to stay in a TA dominance, a chest mix, for as long as we can without locking into a thick, weighty vocal fold coordination. If at some point you find that you're having to increase your vocal effort and loudness in order to hold on to this coordination, or things start to feel tight in the throat, or you feel as though you can't move enough air through your glottis and you're stacking up breath pressure because your closed quotient is way too high and you're dragging up too much vocal weight, which is something that I experienced initially, then you're not being flexible enough in your adjustment. When I sing this, I'll allow for a feeling of forwardness. I make that statement very cautiously because I want you to also understand that I am not encouraging or promoting this unscientific notion of forward placement that can be detrimental to sound production and even vocal health. The voice can't actually be placed. When we feel a sense of forwardness with our voices, what we're really feeling is a result, not a cause. It's due to where we experience the pressure maxima, where the air pressure encounters more narrowing or resistance. We experience that as sympathetic vibrations somewhere forward, often on our hard palates or in the bony structures of the faces, because bones are excellent conductors of resonance. So the forward sensation isn't something that I aim directly to produce. I just use it as a subjective confirmation that I'm getting the physiological coordination right. All right, let's try this exercise here. Very, very heady, right? It's in a CT mix. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make my way back down. And as I do so, I'm going to add a little bit more vocal weight as soon as I can without digging into the sound. I'm totally back in my chest mix, but you hear I tried to bring the two together a little bit by creating similar qualities. I maintained some of that twangy brightness as I came down lower in the scale so that I matched the qualities a little bit, and then again that helps with the perception of us singing in one register. Alright, so as I get to that A4, B flat 4 range, and most guys will tend to experience the same thing around E4 to F sharp 4, I start to notice a need to make some adjustments in order to keep the voice connected. What I do depends on how intensely I'm singing. If I'm singing loudly, I'll tend to raise the first formant here by modifying my vowel a bit toward the vowel with the next highest first formant frequency. I'll get into vowel modification more in part 3. And I'll gradually lower my jaw and open my mouth a little bit more in order to stabilize my resonance, but I don't want to spread the vowels so much or else my voice will start to splat, and it has to stay a little bit narrow. Now if I'm singing more lightly and staying at a conversational dynamic level, I'll start to transition into a CT dominance, a head mix, but increase the twang to keep the closed quotient a little bit more consistent. Really twangy there with that, but you hear I've moved into a head dominant sound there. Now remember, it takes time to develop and grow this range. Don't push it or force it. Remember that chest mix is not about digging into the sound and staying locked into a pure chest voice. It has a slightly shorter closed quotient, so the vocal folds aren't touching for quite as long during each vibratory cycle as they are during chest voice. We have to allow for a bit of adjustment, including of the vowel and vocal fold thickness, so that we can avoid an unmusical yell quality, throat constriction, or a register break or flip into falsetto once we get to the point where we can no longer go up any higher in the exact same coordination. Don't wait until the vocal apparatus forces a shift or flip. If you anticipate the modifications and adjustments that you need to make, then your instrument will stay flexible and you'll be able to move up and down the scale without any kind of break or flip. And don't train a yell coordination when you really want to learn a mix coordination. The second element that we need to master in order to achieve a balanced mixed voice coordination is head voice. If we can't access or balance our head voices, at least the lower part of our head registers, we will find ourselves stuck and pulling chest voice. So we're going to sing with a twangy baby's cry, wah, wah. So make this a small sound. Don't push for loudness or fullness or aim to be big and powerful right away. Start with a small, laser-focused sound that is clear and crisp and carries due to its resonance tuning. So here we're going to start in a CT dominance, a head voice or head mix, and as we move downward in pitch, we're going to gradually add compression, but don't dig in and don't constrict. So let's start with a little hum in a 5-note descending scale pattern, and we're going to put a little bit of a puppy dog whimper or a cry in behind it. And this is going to help us keep the vocal folds really connected. Going up as well, and what you'll probably find is that little bit of cry in there helps to keep the vocal folds connected without you locking into a really thick vocal fold production. It actually thins the vocal folds a little bit. So let's go back up. And don't worry if initially you can't move in an upward direction like that and you start to get a little bit locked. Just continue with those descending patterns. Descending patterns are great. Starting from the top and moving downward like this will also help us eliminate the temptation to drag up excessive vocal weight that we often have when we're singing ascending patterns. It also helps to reduce some of the psychological stress that we associate with moving upwards in pitch. Now let's do the same thing with the baby's cry. You can either do a little tiny baby cry, or you can imitate the voices of the adults in the Peanuts movie, wah, 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 wah. So again, we're going to keep a little bit of that puppy dog whimper, that little cry in behind it. Same pattern. Exercises to help us transition smoothly and seamlessly between chest mix and head mix, and to make that voice homogeneous so it sounds as though we're still singing in one register. So first we're going to sing an exercise, and we're going to sing a really twangy, teasy neigh. And we're going to avoid letting it get overly nasalized, but at the same time we're not going to worry too much about making it sound like a performance quality. We're going to keep it really sealy, really teasy, and we're not going to worry too much about what the neighbors might be thinking while we're singing this. Comfortably, and connected, and then we would go back down to as low as we can. Now, to the best of your ability, try to keep your loudness very consistent as you move higher in the scale. As you increase twang, it's going to be a little bit harder to do because twang resonates at a really high frequency that strikes the ear very powerfully, and it's going to contribute to that perception that we're singing much, much louder. And never struggle to stay in your chest voice. If you keep the twang in there and you keep the sound connected and appropriately energized, your voice will start to coordinate over time. Now let's switch gears momentarily from that bright twangy quality, and we're going to sing a dark, dopey buh in a descending pattern. And even though we're starting up higher in our head mix range, we want to make sure that we're still keeping that kind of dopey, dark quality and not allowing the vowel to spread or splat. Ba 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 ba. Now this is going to help to neutralize our larynx a little bit so that it doesn't keep creeping up as we're singing a twangy quality. Keep a little bit of compression in the sound, and don't let the larynx drop excessively and over darken the sound, because then you're going to sound like an opera singer. Which is fine for opera, but not when you're singing in commercial styles of music. Now let's sing the same exercise, but now we're going to sing it with a twangy na. If you find yourself getting locked in a really stiff, overly thick coordination, you can try singing the phrase or the note in a CT or head voice dominance, and then start to add a tiny bit of compression to the sound. I've mostly just added twang there, and that's exactly what these twang exercises are designed to help us do. Now we have to address the interaction between the larynx and the breath management system. When we're singing, we want to make sure that we're holding back some of the breath pressure down here with the support musculature and not up here with the delicate vocal folds. We need to find a balance between these two parts of the voice system, between the subglottal pressures and the glottal resistance efforts. If the breath pressure increases, so too will the resistance efforts of the vocal folds in response. Now, I'm not saying that we should never generate high subglottal pressure levels. We need to for belting and other very intense singing. However, what singers are often taught about supporting the singing tone is often detrimental to the voice and rarely produces the desired results. And if you watch those teachers who teach their students to squeeze with the abdominal muscles and thrust the abdominal wall inward and the diaphragm upward, you'll find that they don't actually support that way when singing songs. And that's because squeezing causes the vocal folds to stay stuck in a thick coordination that is not necessarily going to be appropriate for the pitch and dynamics. They have to increase loudness as they move higher in the scale and end up sounding pushed, strained, and shouty, or, if they're lucky, they'll sound like they're belting. But that's not mixed voice. It's not going to give you control of your dynamics. You're only going to be able to sing loudly above your lower passaggio or above the first formant second harmonic juncture, depending on the vowel and the singer. So as we move higher in the scale, we need to keep our foot steady on the gas, so to speak. If we depress the gas pedal, push it down, the car's engine starts to work harder in order to increase speed. That's when we get into a yell coordination. If we ease off on the gas too much, especially suddenly, we shift gears and there's a flip or a break in the voice. But if we keep our foot steady on the gas pedal, the vocal folds are then given a chance to make whatever tiny adjustments they need for pitch, register, vowel, and dynamics. If your coordination falls out of balance, if it breaks, starts feeling not quite right in the throat, or it starts to get shouty, make your way back down or make some adjustments to your coordination or vowel. Don't reinforce faulty patterns, and don't worry about it not sounding like a performance. Just focus on your technique, on the consistency of your breath and glottal compression, on keeping the loudness consistent, on your vowel modification, and on keeping twang and a similar resonance quality throughout. Oftentimes the cause of imbalance is related to resonance, so really pay special attention to your vowel and find the particular shading of the vowel that works best for you for that particular pitch and phonemic context. Alright, so I didn't actually cover everything that I wanted to in this video, but this is a good start. Remember, don't get discouraged if your voice doesn't connect properly right away. Be patient with yourself. Keep working at it daily, and little by little, you'll start to see this range grow and stabilize and become more consistent. In the meantime, please like this video and subscribe to this channel so that whenever I post my next video, you'll be sent a notification. Thank you so much for watching today.